in terms of shutting out aggressive strategies. This is much more like where he's targeting this deck, which again brings us into interesting discussions of build your mage as greedy as possible, ban warrior in the series.
Yes.
Like it does seem a little silly in several places, but it just goes to show how much respect is being given to warrior, and in particular, Dr. Boom, the hero card's ability to just win bad matchups.
Yeah, and to be honest, just after today, I can't wait to see what the win rates and matchup scores have been across each deck archetype and even within builds.
Right.
Just to see what's starting to shake out, because let's not joke around here. This is basically 16 of the best players in the world, and they're not messing around on this stage. And Muzzy starting off there with the Shaman. You see some key cards I'll point out in this list, which is the Heckle Bot you can see in the opening hand there, as well as Walking Fountain. I'd say Walking Fountain, pretty much the singular card that has enabled Shaman, at least for me, in this expansion.
Yeah, most of the late game Shamans have been very reliant on that card just to be able to bounce them back. You know, some people are using ways to cheat out early, for example, which you can do. Some people are pairing it with like Ancestral Spirit to get huge amounts of burst healing out of it, you know, kill it off and it just resummons itself, gets to rush again in the same turn. Basically a Reno Jackson on a stick with built-in removal. Very, very powerful card, and really one of the two cards, I would say, making Control Shaman very viable in this expansion. The second being right where you want it to be in the opening hand of Muzzy, Hagatha's Scheme.
Oh, sorry.
Being a card that upgrades in power every turn it is held in your hand. It's an AoE card, starts off dealing 1 damage, increases incrementally each turn of the game that passes. So by keeping it in your opening hand or drawing it early, it's then able to do massive amounts of AoE damage later on in the game.
Yeah, and that's the key point. I mean, when I tell you that Hagatha's Scheme is good versus this mage that creates massive minions, you're like, wait, what? It starts at 1. 5 mana deal 3, deal 4. No, you can very easily go up to 5 mana deal 10.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of matchups, and this is non-different because cards like Hex and Earthshock, for example, do so well versus this mage deck. It means that you can stall the game out long enough that suddenly, oh, you've made a big board with Khadgar, Conjurers, Scheme. They're all dead. Try again, friend. And
yeah,
that is often the case.
Worth noting though, those power cards that you mentioned, the Earthshock and Hex, they are only single copies, both of them, for Muzzy in his deck. And I think you're actually seeing here, HCT just being a little bit scared of the potential Earthshock swing coming back the other way. Plays a 5-4 instead of what would have been, what, a 4-6 coming down there?
Yeah, and I actually really, really like this because you've got to ask yourself certain questions. Yes, it doesn't have... The rush doesn't do anything. Whoa, 1 second.
Oh!
Whoa!
Oh, steady on!
Thank you. Muzzy, I will have a free mountain giant that can attack on the same turn. Voodoo Doll to ping off this Heckle Bot. Forget what I was talking about. It just doesn't matter anymore.
He just ripped the Heckle Bot.
I'm shocked. That's all I've got. I literally said to you when we were looking at deck lists before we streamed, before we cast this match, I said, oh, these Heckle Bots kind of suck versus Mage, don't they? All right, he just plays it.
Let's bring us back crashing down to reality for a second, because I'm going to read out a bunch of minions in HCT's deck right now that would not have been bad to pull out with the Heckle Bot, right? 2 Doomsayers, 2 Sunfury Protectors, 2 Voodoo Dolls, Scale Worms are fine, Twilight Drake, not the end of the world, Dragonmaw Scorcher, 3-6, who cares? Rotten Apple Balm, 4-5, not the end of the world.
I feel like this is a very quick review of cards of Saul now.
Right? But I can keep going. I'm now going to read out a list of cards that just cause you to lose the game if it gets pulled out. Alexstrasza, Kalagos, Mountain Giant. It's a much, much shorter list, right? 2 Giggling Inventors as well, by the way, that I did not mention on the good list. Like, it looks bad because of the results that we saw, but you can't be results-oriented. There is a massive list of minions that Heckle Bot pulls out where Muzzy comes out ahead.
He's a braver guy than I am. Because...
He's also a better player than you are.
Yeah, of course he is. But it's kind of funny because it was completely opposite to the point I was going to make that HCT was about to... Yeah, I got halfway through.
Okay.
But HCT, by playing the Scale Worm, said, I'm not just going to get wrecked by a card.
Sure.
Right? And it was the kind of opposite that... But he was like, it's unlikely I'm going to get wrecked by a card, but I might, right? Okay. And it's kind of just opposite directions. Very interesting.
But now...
Heckle Bot number 2!
Well, Muzzy, having pulled the Mountain Giant and taken a beating from it, is now back in a position where, he can just very easily restabilize from this point. Yeah. There are Divine Shields in the way, which makes his Walking Fountain a little bit annoying, but no big deal. He can pop them out with the 1/1s that he has, and he can just start healing up for huge amounts this turn. Nope.
Hey, there we go. 50-50.
Yeah. 50-50, it's either a mountain giant or it's not?
Yes.
Okay.
I meant like bad, good.
Okay.
One thing to note as well is outside of exactly Kalecgos into something silly, this Mage deck does not have burst damage from hand. It literally has to be Conjurers into... Oh, okay, we're close. Conjurers into, say, Reckless Rocketeer, or even Power of Creation into those. You know, so certain weird things have to happen to get burst damage. So Muzzy is like just never dead that turn, basically.
He did take another big risk, though, by leaving the 2/1 up on board. That is an amazing Conjurer's Calling target. And you can see now, I think Muzzy will have the clearest read he's ever had in his life that there is no Conjurer's Calling in his opponent's hand. But you can see Yuying is sat on Khadgar, which means there potentially Khadgar and the Conjurer's Calling would have been devastating. Speaking of devastating, you know that Drake that you held for a while, Yuying, because you just didn't want it to get Earthshocked? Well, sometimes this happens when you do that.
Might Earthshock the 1/2 to push 3 to face, you never know. But yeah, it is available with the coin, if Muzzy even wants to. Are you scared of it? Well, there's the read of no Conjurer's Calling, and also 4-drops aren't that scary, but I also don't really know what Muzzy's using coin for the rest of this game, right. So I think doing this is just fine.
Agreed.
And now, things might start come crashing down.
Alex Straza your face while you have heal for 8 just on the board and it only does 1 damage to begin with.
This is the power level of this card. It's kind of absurd, isn't it? It just resets games.
Walking Fountain?
Yes. Yeah. It just resets games.
Absolutely.
The problem is now, they're playing the matchup effectively from turn 10. And Muzzy's deck, you know, both decks do it well, but because there's no burst from Yuying, he has to just start all over again.
Yeah.
And with Hagatha, things start getting real weird.
Real weird.
Well, because Hexes come back, you know, Earthshock's come back, you know, even Bloodlust potentially.
You're a pessimist, aren't you?
Disguised as an optimist.
Yeah.
I just lose a lot, so I just know. I just know what happens.
That's true.
All.
Yeah, no, you're a realist. You just live in your sad reality. Jeez.
There's a small thing here for Yuying. Because he has now seen 2, if these die, they're gone. So there's no absurd healing.
Yep.
So, no, I'm saying just, this is bad, but I'm just saying he then knows that if these die, if he can find a way to clear these off, Kalecgos Flame Strike, for example, would do a pretty nice job right now, then the game, like, is flat again. It just, that's the game from 30. You're not going to reheal afterwards.
Yeah.
It's Kalecgos. Nova, Calling, or Explosion. Do you just Nova? And try and get Kalecgos to live?
Yeah, so if you Nova, then potentially your 10-drop sticks,
Khadgar,
and you can make the world's biggest 10-drop board on the following turn.
I mean, it's as good a plan as I can think of, so.
Doesn't seem like the worst thing
And
in
you've
the world.
seen one scheme?
Yeah.
You've seen... Have you seen a Hex? Oh no, he mulled Hex, right? Yeah, so I think he has 1 Hex left. And it's completely non-susceptible to Hagatha, the Witch hero card as well. Because you assume they've all got more than 3 health, I'd hope, for 10 drops.
Your 10 drops? Yeah,
Yeah,
you'd hope so. You're having a bad time.
I mean, Khadgar's going to bite the dust, but everyone else is fine.
Yeah.
But, yeah, not that you should snap pick anything in a World Championship match.
Absolutely.
But you already have 1 Conjurers, which is effectively 2 Conjurers. You do not need 4 right now. You need to not lose.
No possible answer, I believe.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you some questions for some analysis, but I kind of just want to wait to see what happens.
Yeah. Interesting. Muzzy just smashing totem here. Seems to suggest he's not going to Hagatha this turn, which, you know, is pretty much a given because all it does is clear his own board.
It's also the sickest totem, so he can Hagatha next turn.
Sure.
Which is insane.
That's fair.
Okay, so Muzzy's saying, you know what? I'm going to go wide. The healing tome is actually pretty sick. And here we go.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Now he can even potentially keep his Kalagos if he wants to and do it on the Giggling Inventor instead. But no, the Divine Shield Taunt, the little mechs are going to get in the way of his board space.
Yeah. I like 10
So
drops.
I think 10s it is.
He can also taunt up choice minions as well with his Sun Fury.
All right, 2 Hackers. That's going to make this game nice and clowny. Just what we like to see. 2 Boomship dudes.
Destruction.
Shields up.
Boo.
Not going to go again.
The double Hakar to be taunted. Just a side note as well, the way Khadgar works, in case you are not familiar, is when he like resummons again, it duplicates the summon.
Yes.
So you will always see mirrored. So we saw two big boys, the 7/9s, and then we saw two Hakars, because Khadgar doesn't summon new ones; he summons duplicate copies.
Correct. So the vanilla outcome from that Conjurer's Calling, he would have got 1 7/9 and 1 Hakar, and so Khadgar just duplicated a single copy of each of those.
What do you make of Archmage Vargoth in this list, Sol?
Yeah, I wonder, because obviously like Electra's in there, and that's a powerful card, so it did immediately kind of get me thinking when I was looking at Control Shaman about whether Vargoth went in there, but when I tried it, it just wasn't really cutting the mustard. It was powerful with Raynatodes, for example, was like you just kind of scrambled and scrapped, did everything that you could to kind of just about survive, and then that was like your game winner.
Farsight.
Just logging out, yeah, and then Farsight will get the job done as well. Obviously, Lightning Storm, reasonable.
Can we just give one final shout out to that healing totem?
Yeah.
Because without it, I think Muzzy just dies.
Very possible.
Because he can't play Hagatha, so then his late game plan gets way, way, way worse. So if Hagatha's delayed, it gets way, way
Well,
worse.
I mean, he
he
just stumps his minions into the minions first and then plays Hagatha afterwards. It doesn't make a huge difference.
I guess.
Can we give a shout out to this 5 armor?
Yeah, okay, there you go. Give a shout out to Hagatha, never mind.
Yeah.
Ignore everything I do.
Can we give a shout out to this Witch's Brew? Can we give a shout out to this Vargoth being dead so Muzzy doesn't double up on these echoes? I don't know what that even means. Doesn't really help, does it?
No?
Can you make that noise again, please?
No?
Nice.
It wasn't as good the second
It was
time.
pretty close.
What's the foot next to game ends?
Yeah, I mean,
If that's the way this match ends, I'm not going to lie, I'll laugh a little bit.
I kind of want to ping my Hakar this turn. Oh, never mind!
There we go. Doesn't matter about the Bloods if you can just kill them anyway. It turns out, if you Conjurer's Calling a 7-drop and get in, that does the damage you need to do. And